Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers could land next Jalen Hurts. Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in need of a quarterback for the second straight season after flipping their quarterback room over once again. With the free agent pool drying up and the only real options remaining there being former Steeler in Russell Wilson and a divisive, aging Aaron Rodgers. Therefore, it is possible the Steelers look towards the NFL draft in order to assess their needs. In a recent mock draft, NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah had the Steelers selecting a college quarterback in Ole Miss Jackson Dart with the 21st pick in the upcoming NFL draft. In his selection, he compared Dart to an elite quarterback in Jalen Hurts. I don't know who's playing quarterback for them. And I ask myself a very simple question: do I think Jackson Dart would beat out Mason Rudolph? And I think he would, sooner rather than later. And I also with Jackson Dart, I've used this before, but he does remind me of Jalen Hurts, Jeremiah said. Jalen Hurts, who wasn't a finished product coming out, but when you watched him every year in college, he got better and better and better. They're both strong, sturdy guys. You look at the way they can move around. Obviously, Jackson Dart doesn't move around quite like Hurts does, but he rushed for over 1,500 yards in his 3 years in the SEC. He's athletic. So all those things together, I thought, man, you could find some similarities there. Dart would provide youth, which comes with upsides and downsides. While he would provide rushing upside and a strong arm, issues with maturity and adjustment to an NFL-level offense could prove to be tough. The Steelers play in one of the more physical divisions in football, and the adjustment would need to be immediate as the Steelers look to stay competitive. Tim Benz, the unfortunate reality of the Steelers' QB situation. For all the podcast downloads, talk show airtime, column space, and television segments that have been dedicated toward figuring out what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing at quarterback, one unfortunate reality exists: none of the feasible candidates that have been discussed offer much hope that the team is going to match last year's 10-7 record, let alone improve upon it. In an entirely hermetically sealed environment, I suppose that Aaron Rodgers could. Theoretically. If he and the restrictive coaching staff could meet in the middle on how the offense should operate, maybe. If he stays healthy all year behind a still young and developing offensive line, maybe. If DK Metcalf and George Pickens can coexist and present dueling deep threats that would test cornerbacks and pull safeties out of the box to aid the running game and Pat Freiermuth over the middle, maybe. If we discover that the fountain at Point State Park is actually the fountain of youth, and Rodgers can transform into the guy who won the MVP in 2021, probably. But that's already a lot of ifs and almost as many maybes. Even if all the ifs and maybes come together to where Rodgers can drag the Steelers to become a 10-win team again, is that going to be good enough to make the Steelers a playoff winner for the first time since 2016? Unlikely. Yet all the pontification and speculating over what the Steelers might do soared to new heights Friday when it was discovered that Rodgers was in Pittsburgh to check out the Steelers' facilities and meet with the team about possibly signing a contract here. That meant all the bloviating and posturing on what the Steelers have to do, or should have already done, to make themselves better at QB elevated as well. The problem is, whether it's Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Russell Wilson, or an incoming rookie at pick number 21, or later, I don't see these Steelers being a better version of themselves in 2025. The same can be said if Justin Fields had been the quarterback. Perhaps even Sam Darnold. My bet is any of those quarterbacks probably takes a similar path to 7 or 8 wins. At best. As I've previously advanced, that's why I think there is as much support for Rudolph as there has been. He's the easiest guy to get away from in 2026. He doesn't cost much. The Steelers can make him the backup or release him with limited consequences, and at least fans here can get behind the redemption story that accompanies his return to Pittsburgh. Boy, does it say a lot about the state of the quarterback search when the biggest variable is, how easily can we move beyond the guy who gets the job this year in 2026? that doesn't exactly inspire a lot of confidence for 2025. Then again, in the big picture, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Wherever that thin line is between confidence and false bravado, you can easily make the case that the Steelers have been on the wrong side of it for the past 8 years. Pittsburgh Steelers named top landing spot for hard-nosed Chargers running back after letting running back Najee Harris walk and head to the Los Angeles Chargers. The Pittsburgh Steelers could use a running back. They signed Kenneth Gainwell to give them depth, yet with no true workhorse in the backfield, could the team still look to free agency? ESPN's Bill Barnwell sees the Steelers as an ideal landing spot for Chargers free agent running back J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins' death with a knee injury that cost him time in 2024, but when he did play, Dobbins played at a high level. Since 2020, the list of backs with 300 carries who have averaged more yards per rush than Dobbins' 5.2 consists of Devon Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs. After returning from the Achilles injury last season, Dobbins averaged 4.6 yards per tote while racking up a career-high 195 carries, Barnwell wrote. He didn't fumble for the third consecutive season and generated 115 rush yards over expectation, which ranked 13th among all backs. Dobbins had a blazing fast start to the 2024 season with over 200 yards of rushing in those first 2 games. However, following that, his stats mirrored Harris's almost perfectly. Still, he is a workhorse and that could be appealing to Mike Tomlin. At the same time, Dobbins' best 2 games of the season were the initial 2, during which he racked up 266 yards. From that point forward, he failed to top 100 yards in a single game, averaged 3.8 yards per carry, and generated -25 RYOE. Most of that was an absence of big plays. He had 3 runs of 40-plus yards over those first 2 games and none over the ensuing 16 weeks. Dobbins remains a free agent with giant medical questions over his career. He has suffered multiple severe injuries, including a multi-ligament knee injury and a torn Achilles. That has sapped some of his explosiveness that he once had when he was coming out of Ohio State, but Dobbins proved last year he has quality play in his game left. Betting. Check out our guide to the best PA sportsbooks, where our team of sports betting experts has reviewed the experience, payout speed, parlay options, and quality of odds for multiple sportsbooks. Are you a fan? What do you think about J.K. Dobbins' situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.